America has a drone problem. You've been hearing it from us for months now. You've seen congressional testimony about it. There have been other media reports. It's not just hobbyists. There are concerns about flyovers of major security sites in the U.S., including military bases. And over the weekend, 60 Minutes correspondent Bill Whitaker explored some of these more risky sightings and the overall risk that drones could pose, including in a conversation with Senator Roger Wicker. Take a listen.
Do you believe that these drones are a spying system, a spying platform?
What would a logical person conclude?
That these are
Yes.
spying incursions.
And yet, I can tell you, I am privy to classified briefings at the highest level. I think the Pentagon and the national security advisors are still mystified.
And by the way, if there are drones over national security sensitive areas, you might think we can just shoot them down, the military, the FBI, who knows who. Actually, no. There's very little that can be done about it. Here's General Glenn Van Rick, former Joint Commander of NORAD and NORTHCOM, in conversation again with Bill Whitaker of 60 Minutes.
Why don't we just shoot them down?
Well, first, you have to have the capability to detect, track, identify, make sure it's not a civilian airplane flying around. If you can do that, Bill, then it becomes a safety issue for the American public. Firing missiles in our homeland is not taken lightly.
Here to help us figure it all out is CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd, a former assistant secretary for counterterrorism at the Department of Homeland Security, and a great source on all matters national security. I can't find the question, so I'm just going to wing it. Because 15, almost 20 years ago, I co-wrote an article for Newsweek with Peter Singer, a Future of War guy, about how drones were not just going to be a thing you see in the Middle East. Eventually, they were going to be a thing here in America as well. There's a lot of concern that we're beginning to see signs of that prediction coming true. Take me wherever you want to go on this. You've seen the 60 Minutes report. You've seen the congressional testimony. Tom Cotton's big on this. How worried should Americans be? What needs to happen?
Well, we've seen an explosion of drones in our national airspace. They're everywhere, Tony. They're cheap, they're easy to operate, and they've increasingly become a weapon of choice for a whole range of bad actors. Now, we know drones are used for good purposes, too, but we think about the fact, for example, that the majority of commercially owned drones in this country are not manufactured here in the U.S. They're manufactured in China. That unto itself poses a huge espionage risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you wonder if there's a side door to the video that going somewhere it shouldn't go. I am mystified, and this is something that Senator Cotton, with a Democratic partner, has proposed. There should be a better way, more rules to take these things out of the sky, but there's obstacles. What needs to happen on that front? There
is a huge authorities gap and a huge capabilities gap. From an authorities perspective, the actual laws that govern who can actually disable or mitigate a drone here in the United States, very, very different than what happens overseas. We have a gap in the architecture in place for which government officials, whether it's federal, state, or local, can actually engage in proactive detection of drones and then proactive mitigation. So we need more authorities for officials to be able to proactively look for drones in the sky and then take actions to disable them. Not necessarily by shooting them down, which is a public safety risk. Oftentimes you disrupt the radio transmission signal so that you can safely land it.
Can you take it over and control it?
You can safely land it, yes.
Wow.
Just shooting a drone down could lead it to become an incendiary device and pose a whole host of risks to the communities underneath the drone itself.
And you can't get any intel off of it.
You can't get intel off of it. The biggest concern, of course, is, again, it becomes a public safety risk. But also, we've just underinvested in the technology to detect these drones in the first place.
Yeah.
So these drones fly really low. They're hard to detect. And the disablement the equipment to detect them and then disable them just isn't readily available to all the people that need it. So we have a bunch of officials at these sensitive military installations who are aware that drones are trying to survey their installations but aren't able to look for them proactively and then take actions to mitigate them or disable them in a timely fashion.
So Sam, why do you think we've underinvested in being able to detect drones? Drones seem to be relatively simple pieces of equipment compared to, like, you know, planes and bombers and things like that that the military can detect. Why do we have this gap?
I think part of the reason is the technology to actually manufacture drones moves so quickly And it takes so long to get Congress to appropriate funding to the folks that need it to engage in the detection technology and the mitigation technology that there's a mismatch in timelines, but we clearly need to fix that.
Right.
Yeah.
So by the time Congress approves investment in figuring out
drones
a
have just
technology,
surpassed where we
the
are.
technology is different.
Why not just a rule or a regulation that drones need a tail number or something sort of like an airplane? Because look, there are cases where a curious hobbyist really is into naval operations, wants to fly a drone close to Naval Station Norfolk, and you know what? He just needs a tap on the shoulder from the local sheriff. Please stop that. But then there are other cases where you have drones that could be bad actors flying over. You need to know the difference somehow.
You do. The problem is we actually have those rules right now.
Wow.
The FAA has basically said you need a license plate number to operate a drone in this country. But the truth is, the bad actors aren't signing up for license plates for their drones. They're not adhering to the rules that are in place. Many hobbyists do, many commercial operators, but the individuals that are actually intentionally seeking drones to do harm aren't registering with the FAA. And that comes back to the need for funding and authorities for all kinds of officials to engage in this detection and disablement.
Super interesting.
Another wrinkle in this problem. Sam, thank you so much.
Thank you.